and this time with Cortex Machina, another really interesting startup or company from Belgium. And we are here with its co-founders. So hi, could you?
Hello, thank you. So yeah, we at Cortex Machina are building EEG and BCI systems. Now, what are EEG and BCI systems? It's devices that allow you to read what happens in the brain of a user in real time and use this information to control your digital environment. So this is used mostly in the medical sector, but has more and more application outside it in entertainment, well-being and research sectors. And in the medical sector, it's used mostly for epilepsy diagnosis, epilepsy monitoring, ICU, EEG, and for neurofeedback for applications like PTSD, exposure therapy, and autism. Now, why have we developed this? So the thing is, EEG is not new technology. It's about 100 years old, and it's not very complicated. It's just measuring with sensors the variations of electrical activity in the head. Now, it remains up to now extremely expensive in the medical sector. Why? Well, we have been looking and doing some analysis, and it's because of the human factor. As an example, and how I got into neurology also, I have a brother, when he was little, had to do neurofeedback for cognitive enhancement for autism. And typically for neurofeedback you would need like 20 to 25 treatments, and each treatment can cost between 2,000 and 3,000 euros. So you are at about 70,000 euros for a single patient. And in the end, he only had 3 sessions that were repaid by Social Security, and afterwards was not possible anymore. So I want to look, why is this still so expensive? It's not complicated technology, it's old, it has been used for 100 years. And we came to the human factor. So typically in the medical sector, you wouldn't use a headset like this. You would put sensors one by one on the head of the patient with conductive gel. So this is done by a neurologist, and it already takes like an hour of time of the neurologist just to start recording the brain activity of the patient. Then you have to analyze the data, you have to do the diagnosis, and all these steps take a lot of hours of time of highly skilled professionals that you have to pay, of course. So we decided to redevelop this system by taking out the human factor as much as possible. So first, we don't use conductive gel and sensors that you have to place one by one. We use a dry system. Typically, we would not use this in the medical sector because it produces data that is of lesser quality than wet systems. But with the revolutionary advances of the last 10 years, let's say, in IT, we are now capable of creating headsets and ways of processing the data that allows us to approximate the data quality from wet systems with dry systems. So with this, anyone can start collecting data in 30 seconds or less. So instead of having one neurologist with one patient for an hour, you could have one technician supervising maybe 10 patients at a hospital. Another thing we can do is EEG at home. We can just send this with the patient at home and ask them to do a session from the comfort of their own home. Right.
Sorry. All right, okay, because I have one question. Actually, it's a very interesting technology, of course, and you will discover it in depth afterwards. But it can be applied to many other sectors or activities.
Exactly.
So, how? And could you also explain how it could be integrated in their daily operations? Well, give us a case example.
Maybe first in the medical sector and afterwards in other sectors. So in the medical sector, it's typically used, it's the benchmark test for diagnosis for epilepsy. So we will ask a patient to, we'll need to record like 72 hours or 96 hours consecutive of EEG of a patient. Today they have to go to the hospital, stay in a room for like 12 hours hooked up to a machine. So for quality of life, it's really bad. Now we are doing tests with a hospital in Brussels where we are going to set up the patient at home with this, have them walk around and just do their daily life, and see if we can do the same type of diagnosis that we did with wet systems at the hospital itself. So this is already a gain in quality of life for the patient. What we also want to be able to do is predict epileptic attacks. So we already do this with cardiac information. ECGs, like we call it, but it's not very precise. It can be dependent on arrhythmias of the patients, and with this we hope to be able to be much more precise in the prediction of upcoming attacks, but also say to the patient, well, watch out, maybe in the next 15 minutes you will have an attack, don't go driving, go lie down, stuff like that. Now, outside of the medical sector, we use this combined with programs that will use the EEG data to do stuff on a computer. It allows you to control your digital environment directly by your thoughts. So just by thinking, we can detect what you are thinking and we can use this. Imagine I'm thinking about moving my right arm. The headset can tell me that you're thinking about moving your right arm in real time, and you can use this, for instance, in entertainment to move a character around, or we can use it to play games. You can also use it in VR. One thing that we can detect with this is emotions. So imagine a horror game that you play in VR. There are a lot of monsters coming, but we see that you're too scared and we don't want to traumatize the player. Well, we can tell with this system integrated in the VR headset that you're too scared, so we will be a bit kinder in the game. Or you can do completely the opposite if you want to make it really hard. It is also used in marketing, so for instance to assess the panels. Yeah, assessment panels. We put this on the heads of panel members, and we can see if they are indeed happy, indeed sad, or which emotions they experience while they are watching the media that is presented to them. It is also what we do is to really create affordable plug-and-play system. The problem with EEG and BCI is that it can be very complicated and very expensive. Typical medical systems will be around 50,000 euros. We have developed a headset that is for the moment at 1,600 euros, and we are aiming at only 800 euros. And it's completely plug and play. We want anyone to be able to buy this, put this on their head, and in like 30 seconds start to control whatever they want on their computer. To do this, we have kind of we have different approaches, but the most interesting is the machine learning approach, where we train neural networks to recognize patterns in the brain. You can recognize, for instance, I'm thinking about moving my right arm, but you can also detect stuff like anxiety. You can detect things related to autism, or you can detect I want to move forward and reload my gun. So you can use it in a lot of different sectors. And we have created this to be extremely easy to integrate in other projects. So it uses a system that we call a WebSocket application, which allows developers to use the data coming from a headset on any platform, be it a PC or a smartphone or even a drone. And we give them the tools to develop their own use of this. Because we are technology developers, we are not app developers, not game developers, and we're pretty sure that like the new generation can come up with much better uses in the entertainment sector for this kind of technology than ourselves. So we just make it extremely easy for them to use it and experiment with it.
Okay, but how did you even come up with this solution? Because it is one thing to see the need, to envision it, but how did you concretely do it?
My brother had needed like 20-25 sessions of neurofeedback, and we only got 3 because it's too expensive for Social Security. I started with this like 15 years ago as a passion. Then there was a COVID pandemic where I had a lot of time to indulge in my passion. And afterwards we had a system that could, well, really start to produce results, and we decided to just launch it as a product. Started in the medical sector, and then we kind of started to see that, well, there was a lot of demands from developers if they could play around with it, gadget enthusiasts, and well, a lot of other sectors as well. So our focus is still on the medical sector, but we are trying now to diversify and really make it plug and play so that anyone can use it, be it a medical doctor or just a student wanting to try stuff out on his computer.
And if I'm not wrong, there is a video that you would like us to check? Okay, so let's go.
Entertainment entertainment part, we have created a little game that uses your concentration. What does this do? This will read my brain in real time. It will send the data to a server where we pass the data through a mathematical model. And it will calculate my concentration compared to a baseline that I will do just now. It's a 10-second baseline. And if I'm more concentrated on this baseline, well, the gauge will go up higher than 50%. If it's less, then it will go beneath it. And we move a character with this gauge. So if you're under 20%, the character doesn't move. If you're over, the higher you are in concentration, the faster he moves. So that's something I'm going to demonstrate here. First, oh yeah, sorry. First, I'm gonna put it on my head. Yep, yep. There we go. So now I have to check my data quality. There we go. So I can check my data quality here with the lamps. They all seem pretty good. And I'm now doing what we call a baseline. It takes about 10 seconds. And here we can see the return. So we can see my concentration here. If I look around and do something else, it will go down. If I concentrate on it, it goes up. Now this we can use in a game. So we have a little demonstration game to show people what the possibilities of this system are. Like I said, it's a straight race where I'm just going to move the character around with my brain. I'm first trying to deconcentrate myself to not go too fast at the beginning. So we are around 30–40% right now. And if I now concentrate on it, I can go to 100% like you see now. Then I can try to stop my character again by not concentrating. He will slow down. And here we stopped again. And now I can finish the race by concentrating again. And there we go, we finished the game. This is just to show the possibilities. Again, like we said, we are not game developers. We want to inspire people to develop stuff with this technology. And so we're making it accessible to everyone.
And indeed, I understand it must interest a lot of different clients, companies. So who comes to you? Who's interested in even partnering with you?
So for the moment, it's mostly in the medical sector with hospitals in Belgium. I cannot tell which hospital, I'm afraid. And we are in medical study in 6 steps based on epilepsy. So like I said, the first thing we are now doing is monitoring of patients at home for longer periods, 3–4 days of continuous EEG recording. The next step will be ICU EEG. So when a patient comes in and has a shock on his head, we have to know if he's doing a stroke or not. This can be told with EEG. If it's the case, then he has to go to the surgical block directly. The next steps will be for the prevention of epileptic attacks. So today we do this by sending in a little current in one of your nerves that comes down from your brain next to your heart. We use the heart's rhythm to try to predict if an attack is coming, and if we detect something, we put a little current in the nerve, it goes up the brain, and it can mitigate the attack. The problem, since this is based on the heart rhythm, is that with all the patients you can have arrhythmias for a lot of different reasons, so it's not very precise, and we often send in currents when it's not necessary, which can be very uncomfortable. So what we want to do is to be able to much better predict when an attack is coming, but also increase the delay. So we want to be able to predict epileptic attacks up to 1 hour in advance, so that we can tell the patient, well, watch out, maybe don't go driving on the highway now, because you could have an attack in the next couple of minutes.
Okay. And are you looking for business partners, investors? How do you want to develop?
Yes, so for the moment this we did with a little pre-seed of about 300,000 euros, and we are now looking to level up with a class 1 medical certification for the headset. This will allow us to go much further in the medical sector and also sell complete epilepsy diagnosis tools with our headset. Now, in the future, we also want to go further. We have a kind of app store, so the software is separate from the hardware, where we can do whatever we want. The apps can be non-classified at all, for entertainment, games, whatever. But it can also be class 1, it can be class 2, class 3. It all depends on what the client needs. So it's very flexible, and we can accommodate as well for the medical sector as any other sector to their needs.